So the UFC is back in the Apex. I think it's the second to last one in the Apex. I think it is, but we've got in the main event, Rafael dos Anjos taking on Rafael Fiziev, of course, in the lightweight division. We've got 12 fights on this card. It is being co-mained by Caio Borralho taking on Arman Petrosyan. Also, Said Nurmagomedov taking on Douglas Silva de Andrade. And then starting off the main card, we've got Michael Jimenez Johnson taking on Jamie Mullarkey. Let's be honest, this is one of the weaker fight night cards you're going to find, but, you know, it's a fight night card. We're going to break it down here on the channel. And folks, if you have not yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more UFC here on the channel. And we're coming off the heels of UFC 276. We went 8-3. Now, I'm not, trying to brag or anything, but the final 3 fights, I told you exactly how each one of those 3 fights were going to go. Like, if you go rewatch that video to a T, I broke down those last 3 fights. Strickland Pereira. I said Strickland was going to be dumb enough to strike with Pereira, and I like Sean Strickland, but Sean Strickland was going to be dumb enough to strike with Pereira, and eventually was going to get flatlined and knocked out cold in the first round. That's what happened. Volkanovski Holloway 3. I went out on a limb. I said Alexander Volkanovski was going to dominate that fight from pillar to post. He was going to win every single round, and he did. And then Adesanya Cannonier, I said, hell, this probably won't be the most entertaining fight, but Izzy will probably win it by decision. All 3 of those fights, I got it exactly what happened. So I'm just saying, now let's get into this 12-fight card. So starting off the card, it's a fun one. We've got Ronnie Lawrence taking on Nzechukwu Kakhramonov. Now, I don't know why this fight's starting off the card, because it's a good one. I think this one really is deserving of a main card spot. I mean, I think over Jared Vanderaa and Chase Sherman. But anyway, we got Lawrence and Kakhramonov here. And for Ronnie Lawrence, I mean, you look at his last couple of fights, but especially his last performance over Mana Martinez, it's a good win, man. He wins it in Houston, and he's, Lawrence does a good job of mixing up his striking with his takedowns. I mean, how in the Mana Martinez fight, he knocks down Mana Martinez 3 times in that fight, but he's also applying his wrestling too. He goes 6 for 7 on his takedowns. Over 8 minutes of control time in that fight for Ronnie Lawrence. And, Martinez fought better than I thought he was going to fight coming into that one, winning the 3rd round and really, picked apart Lawrence in that 3rd. But, when Ronnie needed it in the 1st and 2nd rounds, to that point in the 3rd, he already banked those first 2 rounds and he ended up winning the fight. But again, Mana Martinez did started to turn it on later in that fight, but still Lawrence, displayed his dominance in the first couple rounds. In his second fight in the UFC, where he just finished Vince Cachero on the ground, on Rosenstrike and Gone over in the Apex, he's dominating that fight too. Hell, he's got 8 minutes of control on that one as well. 8 takedowns over Vince Cachero, eventually finishing him, of course, in the 3rd round. And his Contender Series victory was pure domination again, getting the contract by beating Jose Johnson by unanimous decision. It was just, rinse and repeat, more of the same. Takedowns for 10 minutes of control time in that fight. And Jose Johnson's a guy who's, still winning fights on Fury FC. We'll see. He's going to get a shot in the Contender Series against Jack Cartwright. Is he going to win? Let's be honest, probably not. But, again, Jose Johnson's a guy who will be back in the Contender. You're going to see him this summer. So that's Ronnie Lawrence. He's taking on Nzechukwu Kakhramonov in this one. And for Nzechukwu, he's only got 1 fight so far in the UFC. Comes in off of winning in CFFC for their Bantamweight Championship. He gets the call into the UFC, and he takes on Trevin Jones, and he beats Trevin Jones. I mean, it's a good fight for Kakhramonov. He submits him in the 3rd. Jones is winning the fight till that point, but Kakhramonov is staying competitive. I mean, he's outstriking Jones in the feet, but it is Trevin Jones, controlling Kakhramonov against the fence and against and in the clinch, but still Kakhramonov at the end barely gets the victory. He submits him with the guillotine in the 3rd round. He was booked against Brian Kelleher earlier this year. That fight didn't happen. Kakhramonov got the Rona, so now here we are with him and Ronnie Lawrence. I like Ronnie Lawrence in this fight, man, and especially, with your odds about even going into this one, I really do like Ronnie Lawrence in this. I think he is the better wrestler between him and Kakhramonov. If, Trevin Jones is able to control Kakhramonov against the fence and on the ground, I think Ronnie Lawrence will be able to do more of the same. On the feet, I think these guys are evenly matched. I think Kakhramonov might be a little bit quicker than Ronnie Lawrence, and I think something to note, if Lawrence is really, exerting a lot of energy early in the fight, and he does, we do get to that point, like he did in the 3rd round against Mana Martinez, where Kakhramonov is starting to turn it on late. That could be a little bit concerning for Ronnie Lawrence, but I feel pretty good about a Ronnie Lawrence decision victory in this one. I think he will be able to bank those first 2 rounds, and I think it should be enough for him to win this one by unanimous decision. So, man, Carl Roberson goes from fighting Marvin Vettori in a co-main event spot that should have been a main event back when the Apex first started early in 2020 to now fighting for his contract, essentially, and fighting, for his UFC runner now against Kennedy Nzechukwu. And he's taking on, again, Nzechukwu, who's one of the biggest light heavyweights you are going to see. The guy is 6'5", but Nzechukwu in his own right's on a 2-fight losing streak. Carl Roberson's on a 3-fight losing streak. Somebody's got to win a fight here. And when you're looking at Kennedy Nzechukwu, now, I think Nzechukwu's losses are a little bit better than Carl Roberson's are. Now, not maybe with name value, but just with Nzechukwu beating competitive. I mean, I know the first loss to Dao Jung, and he just gets dominated in that one. Dao Jung knocks him out in the first round. But you look at the Nikolai Negumereanu fight, that's a close fight, man. I thought Nzechukwu won that one. It's a split decision that they do give to Negumereanu. But in the third round, Nzechukwu really turning it on. And I think the close round's probably the first, because in the second, Negumereanu is able to ground Nzechukwu. But in the third round, man, it is Kennedy Nzechukwu turning that thing on against Nikolai Negumereanu. But then I think you have the eye pokes with Nzechukwu as well, that, he just couldn't win the fight that way, because he got deducted a point. But, you had a 29-27 going in his direction, then 2 going for Negumereanu. He ended up losing the fight. But Nzechukwu, what he's always going to do is, he's a tall striker. He's always trying to implement his game. And it does seem like Nzechukwu does seem to turn it on later in fights. When you look at his wins, I mean, hell, he's got a big win over Carlos Ulberg, and now Ulberg, has picked up 2 back-to-back wins over Fabio Cherant, and in his last win as well, the first round knockout victory, of course, over to Nzechukwu. But, Nzechukwu turns on late in fights, like you saw it when he beat Ulberg, and even when he beat Danilo Marquez too. He's winning the fight late in fights. And same with the Negumereanu fight. Now, he didn't get the victory in that fight, but it is Nzechukwu putting on the volume on Negumereanu in that third round and giving him problems. Now, he's taking on Carl Roberson, and Roberson, he's been knocked out. He lost to Khalil Roundtree. Khalil Roundtree put him down. Brendan Allen got him with the heel hook. Martin Vettori took him down and submitted him. It just hasn't been going Roberson's way as of late. And when you look at Roberson's wins, I mean, it's Roman Kopylov where he submitted him. He barely beats, Dansbury, Connecticut's own, and Wellington Turman, and then he lost to Dansbury, Connecticut's own, and Glover Teixeira back in Brooklyn in 2019. He's got a win over Jack Marshman, Darren Stewart. And those are his wins in the UFC. None of those guys are still in the UFC, I do believe, except for Turner. I think Kopylov's still in the UFC as well, excuse me. But I know Darren Stewart and Marshman are now outside the promotion. And then when you look at Roberson's losses, man, I mean, they're good guys he's fighting, but he just hasn't looked all that impressive in those fights. I think if Roberson's going to want to win this one, he probably will have to go to the ground, something that he hasn't done often. But the thing is, when Roberson wins his fights, it is him, implementing his wrestling, and he's the one dictating where the fight's ending up, except for the Wellington Turman fight. That's the one fight you can give the exception to, but you can make the case that Turman wins that one in Sacramento. But when he beats Roman Kopylov, he submits him, takes him down in the third round, gets a submission. When he submits Darren Stewart in the first round, his fight on the Poirier-Pettis card. When he beats Jack Marshman in Brooklyn, UFC 230, he's the one, again, striking but mixing up the takedowns, and that's how he beat Marshman. He's gonna have to do the same exact thing if he's going to beat Kennedy Nzechukwu, but Nzechukwu is a tough guy to take down. I know Negumereanu did it once in their fight, and Darko Stosic did it back in Newark in 2019, but Nzechukwu is a tough guy, one to take down, and a tough guy to keep down. So I think it's going to be tough for Roberson to do so, and I think if he's stuck on the feet against Kennedy Nzechukwu, eventually Nzechukwu is going to stun him, and eventually Nzechukwu is going to put him out. So I like the African Savage in this one at Kennedy Nzechukwu to come in here and pick up the victory over Carl Roberson. I think Roberson's going to be unable to, take him down. I think in the second, Nzechukwu, as he is a slow starter, I think he's going to turn on in the second round. I think Kennedy Nzechukwu is going to knock out Carl Roberson, getting back to his winning ways in the UFC. And unfortunately for Roberson, probably booking him outside the promotion for a little while. So I think it's pretty obvious of what both guys want to do in this fight. We've got Cody Brundage taking on Tresean Gore. Now, with Brundage, he picked up a win in his last fight, picking up a huge guillotine victory over Dalcha Lujanbula, and it's a fight where Lujanbula is having a lot of success in the feet. Again, the fight only lasts 3 minutes, but eventually he gets caught in a guillotine, and Cody Brundage puts him away in the first round. And Brundage, that was the second fight in the promotion. The first one he did lose to Nick Maximov. He just got out-scrambled on the ground, and Maximov showed that he was a superior grappler in that fight, but Brundage took that one, I think, on somewhat short notice going into that fight at UFC 266. Now he's taking on Tresean Gore, and Gore's a guy who, won the Ultimate Fighter. He went on there, he only had 3 pro fights at that point. He beats Ryder Newman in the first round, he beats Gilbert Urbina in the second, knocking him out, and then he's supposed to take on Brian Battle in the finale. Of course, that fight never happened, and Urbina stepped in instead. Battle beats Urbina, and then they run it back. Gore does take on Brian Battle in early of this year. It was in February, and he loses by unanimous decision. Battle just beats him. Brian Battle showed he was a superior fighter in that when he outstruck Tresean Gore. He beat him on the ground, and that's how, of course, Brian Battle, I guess, reclaimed or retained his Ultimate Fighter Championship. He brought it out when he won. It was funny, but I mean, Brian Battle's booked now against Takashi Sato. We'll see that fight. I believe it was next month. Yeah, in August we'll see that fight. Anyways, for Tresean Gore, I'm concerned that it's a little too much too soon for Tresean Gore so far in the UFC. He's still really young in his MMA game, and he's 28 years old, so he's not young in his career, right? But like experience-wise, he doesn't have much. Because Cody Brundage has been around for a while. Now, Brundage, he's been fighting in amateur MMA since 2017. Tresean Gore made his pro debut, I guess, back in 2018. But I'm just saying with the amount of fights, because Tresean Gore hasn't been all that active. He has 2 fights to kick off 2018, and he doesn't fight till 2020, and then he gets called to the Ultimate Fighter. So technically, Tresean Gore has been fighting in amateur MMA for longer. He started back in 2014, but it's just been the inexperience in the octagon or in the cage for Tresean Gore, which is a little bit concerning. Again, only 3 pro fights. He had 2 in the Ultimate Fighter, but I just think Brundage if Brundage is able to take him down and Brundage is able to keep him down, I don't know how Tresean Gore is going to really react to that. And on the feet, yeah, Gore has power, but let's be honest, he had 2 good fights in the Ultimate Fighter. Up to that point, he really hadn't fought anybody, and then he loses to Brian Battle. It's just tough for me to pick Tresean Gore, and unless he can land that one bomb, I don't think he's going to win this fight. So I think Tresean Gore is going to be able to, he's not going to be able to land that one shot against Cody Brundage. I think Brundage is going to be able to take him down. And, Brundage takes him down. It opens up a lot of different opportunities for him to pick up a submission. I'm not going to bank on him getting one, but I think he will have enough just to ground Tresean Gore and limit the offense of Gore. So I'm going to say Cody Brundage is going to go in there. I think he's going to put on his wrestling boots and he's going to win this fight. I like Cody Brundage by decision. Okay, so this is a really tough one to pick. Don't put your money on it. Like just don't. And, it's tough when Antonia Shevchenko is a favorite in a fight, considering the way she's fought recently. Like, she's lost 3 out of her last 4. I mean, I remember when there was a point in time where she was a favorite to beat Katlyn Kuchagian. It was on Gilbert Burns versus Tyron Woodley in the Apex. And I was like, dude, this is ridiculous. Why is Antonia Shevchenko a favorite over Katlyn Kuchagian? Like I said, Kuchagian was going to dominate that fight. She did, given that was all the way back in May of 2020. But since then, it's just been, downhill for Shevchenko. Now, she beats Ariane Lipski after that. And Lipski at one point in time did have some height. I believe that was when Lipski was coming off of her victory over Luana Carolina. Yes, it was. And now I know Lipski's coming off a victory over Mandy Bowman, her last one. But still, Lipski doesn't have that hype that she once did have after she was, of course, the champion over there in KSW. But after Lipski win, Shevchenko runs into Andrea Lee, who is, wasn't winning at that point in time. Lee was like on a 4-5 losing streak, a 3-5 losing streak. Lee comes in there, gets her with the triangle armbar, submits her in the second round. And then Antonia Shevchenko, when she fought Casey O'Neill, I think we all knew how that fight was going to end up. Casey O'Neill ended up dominating that one and finishing her in the second round by TKO. And now we got Shevchenko against a 10-9 Courtney Casey. And for cast iron Courtney Casey, she was 9-9 going in her last fight, but she did go in there and she did really dominate Liana Jojua. Jojua had a little bit of success in the ground, but it was domination on the feet by Courtney Casey. And say what you want about Courtney Casey, but Casey's always going to put on a volume and she's always going to put on a pace in the feet. Now, does she have all the most, knockout power? No, I don't think Courtney Casey's knocked anybody out in her career. Apparently she has, not in the UFC though. Okay, she got a ground pound finish win back in 2016 in the UFC, but that was against Christina. I don't remember this fighter, honestly. She's 5-3. I forgot this woman existed. Anyway, Courtney Casey is not going to knock anybody out. I mean, you and I know that that's not going to happen. It's going to be the volume, though, that Courtney Casey's going to try to put on. She's going to try to win a decision. But, it hasn't really gone her way recently. Other than the Jojua fight, she lost to JJ Aldridge by split decision. She got taken down in that one. She got taken down in the Jillian Robertson fight. But it is the same thing out of Casey. She is trying to keep the fight on the feet. She's trying to outland her opponents. Now, I don't think there's going to be a threat of takedown in this one. Like, Shevchenko, I think she took down Lipski once when they fought, and I think she took down Ji-Yeon Kim. But other than that, you're not going to see Antonia Shevchenko. She's not going to be the one engaging the wrestling. When someone else brings the wrestling to her, then she will engage that. I mean, like, you have to. But like when Lucia Puzilova fought her back in Newark in 2019, it was Puzilova. She was the one who actually, Puzilova come back to the UFC. She's fighting in Salt Lake City in a couple months. Anyways, but yeah, it was, she was pushing the pace, and Shevchenko was getting taken down that one. Eventually, Antonia submitted her in the second round. So Antonia will use her jiu-jitsu when she has to. But in a fight like this, I don't think she's going to implement the wrestling at all. I think you can see a stand-up fight between her and Courtney Casey. And yeah, Casey might bring a little bit of volume in this one, but I think Antonia's striking is still better than Courtney Casey. You see the fighters that Shevchenko's fighting, and yeah, she's losing to some of these fighters, but I still think she's on a different, I wouldn't say different level, but just a little bit of a slightly higher level on the feet than Courtney Casey. And I'm going to take Antonia Shevchenko to finally pick up another victory. I got her by unanimous decision over Courtney Casey. So the reigning Ultimate Fighter winner, Ricky Turcios, is taking on Ayman Zahabi. And yeah, I mean, for now, the reigning Ultimate Fighter winner. I mean, who do we think wins the Ultimate Fighter this year? I mean, we got Zach taking on the winner of Muhammad Usman, and I'm blanking on who Usman's fighting next. Oh, he's fighting the guy who beat Bobby Maximus. I'm sorry, I think his name's Eduardo. I think he's fighting Eduardo Perez. Yeah, I mean, that's what we got on the heavyweight side. On the female side, keep it a buck with you, I know Caitlin Neal's fighting Juliana Miller, I think her name is, and honestly, I don't remember who's on the other side. Oh my goodness, who beat Hannah Guy? I forgot. Brogan Walker is fighting the replacement fighter. I'm completely, I watched the Ultimate Fighter, but I'm not, as into it as, honestly, was the last season, because I liked the last season of the Ultimate Fighter. When Volkanovski and Ortega were the coaches, it was exciting, and that's when Ricky Turcios was fighting, obviously, on it. And Turcios, in that season, went 2-0. He had 2 really fun fights against Dan Argueta, and Argueta's a guy, and that was a really tough first-round matchup for both those guys, but Argueta's now in the UFC, just lost to Damon Jackson's last fight. He went on to win the LFA championship after going through the Ultimate Fighter, and after that, Turcios had to fight Ludovic Shoilan, and Shoilan's a guy who, fought Jack Shore in the UFC, who was booked against Nathaniel Wood at one point in time. So Turcios, to win the Ultimate Fighter, he had to beat Argetta, UFC fighter, Tiuliulin, who's a UFC fighter, and Brady Heastand, who, where's Brady Heastand at? That guy's really good. Like, Heastand doesn't get enough credit. I want to see him fight again. Why is he not booked for another fight in the UFC? Now, Heastand had a kind of a Mickey Mouse run to the Ultimate Fighter finale, and his run to the UFC was kind of weird because he hadn't beat a guy with a win yet, to the point where he fought Ricky Turcios. He fought a bunch of guys who's never won a fight before, and when he fought Chad and Helliger, he lost by KO, but then he went on, he beat Josh Redenhouse, who Redenhouse, he's getting up there in age. He beat Vince Murdoch, who Vince Murdoch just lost to a guy who's like 1-14, Uzama Rahman in Total Warrior Combat, Daquan Townsend's promotion. He doesn't run it, but he's the champion. And then he fights Ricky Turcios, but, you know, I don't care what Heastand's record says. That guy's a good fighter, and I want to see him fight again. He's only like 22, 23. Anyways, for Ricky Turcios, though, he beats Brady Heastand. And I think there's a way to beat Ricky Turcios. And I'll talk about Ayman Zahabi in a second, but there's a way to beat Turcios. I mean, Brady Heastand kind of showed you got to mix up the striking and you got to bring the wrestling, because that's how that fight was close, the split decision fight back in August of last year, where Heastand, you know, 8 minutes of control time. He goes 6 for 11 on his takedowns. He puts up a tough fight against Ricky Turcios. He doesn't win it, but there's a way to beat Turcios. It's, again, mixing up the striking and implementing the wrestling when you have to. I just don't think Ayman Zahabi's that guy, because Zahabi really isn't, you know, he's not going to take down Ricky Turcios. And oh, by the way, Turcios does have some jiu-jitsu, but if you're able to hold him down and able to control him and not let him get up any of his submissions off his back, then, you know, you are able to neutralize his game. But again, I don't think Ayman Zahabi's that guy. He's 2-2 in the UFC. His first when he came back in Halifax, Canada, on the Lewis and Brown card. He won by unanimous decision, beat Vieira. Then he lost to Ricardo Ramos, where he got a spinning back elbow to the face. He lost to Vince Morales after that. He picked up the win over Draco Rodriguez on the Blades Lewis card, of course. That was in the Apex. But yeah, the Blades Lewis card back in February 2021. So he wins that fight, right? He looks good in that one. He, you know, knocks out Draco Rodriguez with a huge overhand right. And yeah, he might be able to threaten Turcios a little bit on the feet, but it's the constant pressure and the pace Turcios is going to put on Ayman Zahabi, which I really think is going to make it hard for Zahabi to win. Turcios is always in your face, and like he doesn't give you time to react. Like you saw the way Brian Barberena beat Robbie Lawler this weekend. You know, always constant pressure in the face, and you know, maybe Robbie Lawler, or in this case, Ayman Zahabi will throw a big strike your way, like he did, like Zahabi, you know, knocked out Draco Rodriguez with, and maybe he will hit you with a couple of those strikes. But I really think Turcios is going to be able to keep walking through those, and I think he's going to keep walking down Ayman Zahabi. He'll always be in his face, and I think Turcios will be able to beat him by decision. Again, I don't see the wrestling out of Zahabi, you know, playing a big impact at all in this fight. So I really do like Ricky Turcios winning this one. I think we'll get it done by unanimous decision. Again, I think he'll stay in Zahabi's face, and again, he'll win it. I think he'll win every single round, 30-27, going to the Ultimate Fighter winner in Ricky Turcios. Confidence levels are at 0 at this fight. I mean, we got Cynthia Calvillo taking on Nina Nunes, and now I'll tell you what like I anticipate to happen in this one, but I really don't know what's going to go down in this, because you got on one side Cynthia Calvillo is a fighter who quit on the stool in her last fight, and you know, she didn't look great in the Andrea Lee fight. Lee picked her apart on the feet, man. I mean, Andrea Lee, that was the best Andrea Lee performance I've ever seen in my life. Andrea Lee looked really good in that one. And then, you know, before that, she fought Jessica Andrade in the main card of a pay-per-view. She lost. She got finished in the first round. And then, I mean, she fought Kaylin Kuchagian. Before that, she loses by unanimous decision. And then before that, she beat Jessica Ai in a main event, and, you know, that put her like at number 2 in the rankings, that she beat Jessica Ai, who's now retired Jessica Ai, and who's forcing her way on the Joe Rogan podcast. I mean, hell, Joe might cancel his podcast for good now because Jessica Ai wants to be on it. In all seriousness, I guess that's going to happen. I mean, here we go, evil. Here we go. Woo woo. But anyway, Cynthia Calvillo beat Jessica Ai by unanimous decision. I can't believe I picked Jessica Ai to win that fight. But like, honestly, Calvillo has looked really bad since then. So she goes on, she fights Kuchagian. She's like -250 favorite. She loses by decision. Okay. She runs in on Andrade. She knew how that fight was going to go. UFC 266. It was domination by Jessica Andrade. She beat up Cynthia Calvillo, and she finished in the first round. Then Andrea Lee just dominated. And now we're, you know, back at 125, taking on Nina Nunes. Nunes normally fought at 115. I think this is her first fight, 125, at least in a while. You know, she came back after the pregnancy. She's a favorite going to the Mackenzie Dern fight. I was like, really? Dern submitted her in the first round, like we kind of thought was going to happen. And now I didn't think the submission was going to happen, but Dern dominated. Nunes couldn't really get going. I mean, I don't know. When you look at Nina Nunes' record, who did she really beat? Like now looking back at it, like in the present when she beat Claudia Gadelia, it was a big win. She beat her by decision as a featured prelim UFC 231 in Canada on that Holloway Ortega card. She beats her in the present. That's, you know, back then that looked like a really good win. Now, is it all that great? Because Gadelia struggled past that point. I mean, she had that fight against Angela Hill where maybe she won, maybe she didn't. And then, of course, she had the Yao Xiaonan fight where she loses and ends up retiring after. And then Nina Nunes goes in the Tatiana Suarez fight. And honestly, Nunes fights Suarez better than anyone has to this point in time. Because the first 2 rounds, okay, Suarez is dominating. Suarez is taking Nunes down. She's clinching with her. She's grappling with her. And Suarez wins those first 2. But in the 3rd round, man, Nina Nunes has got Tatiana Suarez in a little bit of danger. Nunes wins that 3rd round. She stuffs all of Suarez's takedowns. Suarez isn't able to get going. I think in that 3rd round, Suarez again hurt herself in that 3rd, and we haven't seen Tatiana Suarez since. I want to see Tatiana fight. I mean, hell, she's 8-0. She dominated Carla Esparza. Oh, who's the champion right now? It's Carla Esparza. She beat Alexa Grasso, and Alexa Grasso is like a fight away from the belt. We need to see Tatiana Suarez fight. We need to see her fight again. But, I mean, I hope she's healthy. She's supposed to fight Roxanne Modafferi at one point in time. Fight never happened. I just hope she fights again. We'll see. Anyways, with Calvillo and Suarez, there's not Suarez, I wish Suarez was fighting. With Calvillo and Nunes, I mean, okay, one would anticipate Cynthia Calvillo is looking for the takedown in this fight, right? I mean, she's probably going to try to take down Nunes, but Nunes, with the exception of the Dern fight, her takedown defense was really good, I think. I mean, I know Gedalia took her down a couple times, and I know Suarez took her down a couple times, but her takedown defense as a whole isn't that bad, and when Nunes is on the feet, and when she's able to strike, she does a pretty good job in doing so. Like, I mean, the fight I go back to is the Angela Hill fight. I know that fight was 5 years ago to this point, but still, she's able to stand there. She's able to outstrike Angela Hill, who Hill's not a bad striker in her own right. I know she's going to fight Lupita Godinez, which she'll probably lose later this year, but, Nunes does have some solid striking in her. She was able to outbox Claudia Gedalia. In the 3rd, she's able to outbox Tatiana Suarez when that fight's, contested on the feet. Obviously, that's what you would anticipate in a striking affair between Nunes and Suarez, but I just don't know. Like, what are we going to get post-pregnancy Nina Nunes? Because she didn't look good in her first fight post-pregnancy against Mackenzie Dern. What are we going to get in her 2nd fight? And what are we going to get out of Cynthia Calvillo, a fighter who just got, demolished in her last fight against Andrea Lee, who got finished in the Jessica Andrade fight, and then just got shut down by Kim Kuchagian all after her first main event victory over Jessica Ai. You got a fighter who's lost, her last 3 fights, taking on Nunes, who's lost her last 2 and hasn't won a fight since 2018. It's a tough fight to pick. Again, I would not put money on this. Don't do it. And take this with a pinch of salt. I'm taking Cynthia Calvillo by decision. I'm doing it. I think she'll win. I think she's able to wrestle Nunes, and if she's not able to, hold her down, I think she's going to make it boring. I think she's going to push her back against the fence. I think Calvillo, in those short boxing ranges, she'll be able to barely connect against Nunes, and I think she'll win a boring decision. I don't think this is going to be on anyone's fight of the night, cards, but I'll take Cynthia Calvillo ever so slightly by decision. But I do see a world 100% where Nunes is able to keep the fight on the feet, and Nunes just outboxes Calvillo for 3 rounds and wins a decision that way. I can see it either way. I'll ever so slightly, though, take Cynthia Calvillo. Okay. So, Michael Jimenez Johnson taking on Jamie Mullarkey here. For Michael Jimenez Johnson, picking up a victory in his last fight, he had a brutal knockout over Alan Patrick. He knocks him out in the 2nd round. It's a good knockout. It's a really good finish for Michael Johnson. It was a much needed win because to that point, that was his first victory since 2018, where he beat the GOAT Artem Lobov back in New Brunswick, Canada. But yeah, no, it was a good win out of Michael Johnson. He looks good after losing having 4 straight losses to Josh Emmett, PFL playoff fighter, and Stevie Ray, Thiago Moises, and Clay Guida. He's taking on Jamie Mullarkey in this one. I think it's a good fight for both these guys, honestly, because Johnson, a guy looking to, I wouldn't say rise the ranks, but get back and take on some of these guys who are tougher opponents, more tougher than, of course, Alan Patrick. And for Jamie Mullarkey, coming off that fight where he just got knocked out by Jalen Turner, but now we truly know how good that Jalen Turner victory is turning into. I mean, hell, you look how good the Tarantula is. He just knocked out Brad Riddell, or he almost knocked him out. He submitted him in the first round in 45 seconds. Jalen Turner is truly on a run right now at 155, where I think this guy's going to be I wouldn't maybe say it, wouldn't say maybe a title challenger, but he's going to be a threat. He's going to be a contender in this division real soon. Jalen Turner is good. But for Mullarkey, he gets knocked down the 2nd round. Jalen Turner is beating him in that fight. He gets outstruck. Turner takes him down at one point in time. Mullarkey before that did knock out one of my guys in Devontae Smith. Now Smith no longer in the UFC, but Mullarkey finishes him in the 2nd round. Looked good in that one. He knocked out Kama Worthy at UFC 260. That was a pay-per-view fight. Yeah, that kicked off a main card at one point in time. And then Mullarkey coming to the UFC, he lost to Brad Riddell and lost to Faraziem fight after that. I think you might see Mullarkey try to take down Johnson in this one. I mean, that's how Clay Guida kind of beat him. So I think that Mullarkey might try the same exact thing. But on the feet, I think this one's really, closely contested. I do like Michael Johnson. I do like Michael Johnson striking a lot still at this point of his career. I mean, hell, he showed he still does have knockout power the way he flatlined Alan Patrick. He's only 36 years old, so he's not, too old at this point. Mullarkey is 27. I do worry a little bit about Mullarkey's chin. He has been, finished 3 times in his career by KO. Now, one of them does come to the pound-for-pound king, Alexander Volkanovski. I'm telling you, Volkanovski's really damn good. I think he can beat Oliveira. I'll say it right now. Yeah, one wins to Volkanovski, or one loss to Volkanovski. He got finished in his fight after that, and of course the other knockout comes by the way of the Tarantula and Jalen Turner. But again, on the feet, I think we're going to see a competitive fight. I think someone will get knocked out. Mullarkey's got a lot of power in those hands. Michael Johnson's got a lot of power in those hands as well. I think it's a very, very closely contested fight. But ever so slightly, though, I'm going to take the menace Michael Johnson. I think Johnson's able to chin Mullarkey early in this one. I think he's going to catch him with something. I like the striking out of Mullarkey, but I just think Johnson's going to pull something out of his ass here, and I think he's going to knock him out. Michael Johnson is always winning a fight, though, until he's not. Like, Johnson will be in control of this fight. It's a matter of can he close the deal, and can he not find a way to get knocked out later in the fight. I think he's going to be able to put it on Mullarkey. I think he's going to knock him out in the second, just like he knocked out Alan Patrick. Kind of a long shot in this one, kind of throwing a dart here, but I do think Johnson's able to win. I think he's able to even up that UFC record of 13-13. Going with the menace, Michael Johnson with the second round TKO finish. Next up, we have got Jared Vanderaa taking on Chase Sherman. Chase Sherman's UFC record, that's not a mistake. It's 3-9. Jared Vanderaa 1-4 though. Like, I mean, this is low-level heavyweight fighting at its finest. Of course, this is on the main card because, of course, you got the heavyweights on the main card. Even though Chase Sherman's last fight was on the undercard, they put him and Alexander Romanov on the undercard on a fight night, and now we're putting Vanderaa and Sherman on a main card. What are we doing? Like, huh? Okay, so Sherman just fought 3 months ago. He lost to Alexander Romanov. We all knew how that fight was going to go down. Sherman was going to go to bare knuckle, but the UFC offered him a boatload of money to come back and fight Romanov on short notice as no one else was willing to do so. So Sherman's like, all right, I'll take the money to go get beat in 2 minutes. He gets submitted by Americano by Romanov. I mean, hell, if Jake Collier is able to submit you in the first round, what is Alexander Romanov going to do to you? Like, come on. And then Sherman now is going to parlay that into a fight with Jared Vanderaa. Now, Vandeera's previous couple fights, he got, scarf holded by Alexei Oleinik. Oleinik still doing the damn thing, am I right? In Jacksonville, and Alexei said he's got another fight coming up. He said on Twitter. I don't think it's been announced yet, but Alexei's looking for win number 61 coming up. That'll be exciting. Anyways, Vanderaa, gets submitted by Oleinik like everyone does by a scarf hold. He's got that close fight with Andrei Arlovski that everyone thought Arlovski won. I'm the minority when I say that I thought Andrei Arlovski won that one. It was a close fight, but it's a typical Andrei Arlovski fight where he barely wins the fight by unanimous decision, and he keeps on doing the damn thing because the Pitbull keeps on winning by decision, beat Jake Collier afterwards. Anyways, Vanderaa, man, lose to Arlovski, and they lose to Alexander Romanov before that. Romanov's doing to him what Romanov does to everybody, and then he comes in the UFC after beating Harry Hunsucker on the Contender Series. Hunsucker's not very good. He's going to go fight Tyson Pedro coming up. Okay, at light heavyweight. Again, okay. And then Vanderaa loses to Sergey Spivak, where he gets just dominated on the ground. Chris Tognoni just wanted to see Jared Vanderaa suffer in that one. And then Vanderaa beat Justin Taffa, and admittedly a really good fight at the Apex. Dana White loved the hell of that fight. And by the way, where was Dana White at the fights tonight? Or on Saturday? Vince McMahon was at UFC last night, but Dana White wasn't. I'm assuming Dana's in Maine, I think, for the 4th of July. Hoping everything's all right for Dana, but I'm hoping he's just in Maine. Anyways, because he usually does go up there to the Northeast for the 4th of July. Anyways, though, Vanderaa and Sherman. Vandeera's got one win in the UFC. Sherman just hasn't looked good. His last win comes by the victory over Ike Villanueva. Exactly, Ike Villanueva in Jacksonville in 2020. He's had 2 stints in the UFC. He got cut the first time around for losing 3 in a row, and now he's 1-4 in his second stint. I don't know what to expect here. I think Vanderaa wins. I think Vanderaa is able to mix it up in the feet, and I think occasionally he's able to shoot him for a takedown because Sherman's grappling is horrible. Like, Chase Sherman does not have takedown defense. Like, he's really bad. He's really bad on the ground. He's a boxer, and that's why he did want to go to bare knuckle. And he said, while he's doing bare knuckle, he wanted to refine his tools with jiu-jitsu and then maybe come back to the UFC or fight more MMA later. But that's why he wanted to go to bare knuckle because, admittedly, Sherman is a good striker, but at the bare knuckle level, it would be a good striker. Like, him versus Greg Hardy would be a bare knuckle main event. I'll take Jared Vanderaa. I think Vanderaa is able to mix it up in the feet and on the ground. I think he'll outstrike Sherman. Sherman's a tough guy to finish on the feet, so I don't think he'll TKO him. Sherman is tough. I don't think Vanderaa necessarily is going to submit him, so I'll go Jared Vanderaa by decision. Again, though, it's low-level heavyweight fighting, but I think Vanderaa is just better. Again, I got him by decision. So originally, this fight was supposed to be Jamie Pickett taking on Abdulrazak Alhassan. Now, on 2 weeks' notice, it'll be Dennis Tiuliulin coming in for his fight in the UFC. After he lost to Kizraev in his first fight in Columbus, Ohio, he lost by rear naked choke in the second round. And admittedly, it was kind of a weird signing bringing in Dennis Tiuliulin to the UFC because he was 1-1 in his last 2. He won on UAE Warriors, got a knockout win in the middleweight division, but I mean, it was just kind of a weird signing because Tiuliulin really hadn't fought anyone except for the Fahea win on UAE Warriors. But Fahea, I've only watched this guy fight once. I mean, he didn't look that impressive, honestly. I mean, apparently he's fighting KB Buller tonight. Oh, okay. Or actually, apparently he just fought KB Buller. we're going to do a quick, I'm going to do a quick UAE Warriors 30 results. And we're about to see if this guy, because I didn't watch UAE Warriors. All I saw was the Ali Al-Casey just starting at chaos after Ali Al-Casey lost. We're about to find out together who won. Did KB Bowler win, or did his opponent and former opponent of Denis Tiuliulin win? You're going to see my live reaction right now. KB Bowler lost again. Oh my goodness. Yikes. Oh my goodness. Okay, anyway, so Tiuliulin beats the guy who just beat KB Bowler. He knocks him out. He gets in the UFC. Okay, then he loses to Kizrayev by rear naked choke in his first fight in the promotion. Now, Tiuliulin didn't look great in that fight. You know, Kizrayev's out striking him. He takes him down. He's just beating Tiuliulin all around, right? And then Jamie Pickett before that, or Jamie Pickett, his opponent, of course, now in this fight, he's done all right in the UFC. He's done better than I thought he was going to do. He's 2-3. He comes in the promotion. He loses to Shevchenko by unanimous decision. He loses to Jordan Wright. Then backs against the wall. He's got to beat, Laureano Staropoli. He wins. He wins by unanimous decision. I thought Pickett was probably going to win that fight. He did. And then he runs into Joe Holmes. I took Holmes in that fight, but, Jamie Pickett beats Joe Holmes. And then he gets submitted by the Darce Knight and Kyle Dawkins. Dawkins submits him at the end of the first round in a co-main event spot earlier this year at 195 catchweight. And now we got Pickett versus Tiuliulin. I think Jamie Pickett's better than Denis Tiuliulin. I mean, I think we're going to see a striking fight. Denis has got some power on the feet, but I just don't think he's all that great. I don't even know if he's UFC level. And Jamie Pickett, let's be honest, is kind of low UFC level, but he's a UFC fighter. I think he's able to do enough on the feet. I think you're going to see a decision victory here for Jamie Pickett. I think you're going to see it on the feet. You might see Pickett using a little bit of his wrestling, and in that spot, I will give the advantage to Pickett as well. I think Jamie's able to do enough. I think he's able to beat Denis Tiuliulin. I think he gets it done by unanimous decision. Really love this fight. Said Nurmagomedov taking on Douglas Silva de Andrade. This is a good one, man, because Douglas Silva de Andrade has got so much pop in his hands. I mean, this guy's got power. Just look at him on the screen right now. But this guy is a powerful human being. The way he comes back and beats Sergey Morozov is a tremendous. I mean, he knocks down Morozov 3 times before eventually submitting him. The guy's got ground skills. He's got heavy hands in the feet. The way he's able to beat Gaetano Pirello as well, where he knocks him out in the first round in the Santos and Walker card in the Apex in October of 2021. The guy's impressive, man. He's able to compete on the feet with some of the best guys. Well, when he's throwing hard. When D. Silva is able to land early, he's able to have success late in fights, which is obviously, I think it's a thing that is pretty obvious. I mean, how when he beat Chito Vera, he's able to land early on Chito Vera, and he's able to, carry that success late into the fight, and that's what he was able to do in the Morozov fight. He was able to do in the Gaetano Pirello fight, even though he just put down Pirello early. But honestly, though, the Sergey Morozov fight, Morozov's beating him in the first round. I'll take that back. Morozov is beating him in the first round. He's able to take down Douglas Silva de Andrade in the second, though. Douglas Silva de Andrade knocks down Morozov 3 times before submitting. The guy's got power on the feet, and I think that's what makes this fight really interesting with him and Said Nurmagomedov, because Nurmagomedov so far in the UFC, he's looked pretty good. He comes in the UFC, he beats Justin Scoggins, he beats Ricardo Ramos, he loses to Honey Barcelos. It's going to happen to you. Barcelos is good. Beats Mark Striegel, knocks him out in the first round, and then he finishes Cody Stamann on a main card at UFC 270 in Anaheim, California by a guillotine choke in 47 seconds. So Said is good, man. He's got pop on the feet. He's able to strike with the best of them, and he's able to go down to the ground if he has to as well. But I think in this fight, man, I think you're gonna see Said challenged on the feet, and I think he's gonna strike with Douglas Silva de Andrade in this one. I think he will. I mean, now there is an advantage on the ground for Said, but Said, unlike some of these other guys who do come from Dagestan, he's gonna come in here and he's gonna strike with you. And Said isn't part of the. Actually, I don't think Said's part of. I think he trains in Dagestan. But he's not part of the, the Habib group in Dagestan. He's not. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he trains with Valiev, I think. I could be mistaken on that one. But Said Nurmagomedov, he's not your typical, Russian prospect. He's going to go in there and he's going to strike with you. And I think he's going to come in here. I think he's going to outstrike. I think he's going to try to outstrike Douglas Silva de Andrade. I think he has to. He's going to go to the ground. But again, honestly, D. Silva isn't horrible. He's a powerful guy, and for a guy in Said Nurmagomedov who so far in the UFC hasn't shot for too many takedowns, I think, I don't know if that is going to be there in this fight. So I think we're going to see a striking affair between Said Nurmagomedov and Douglas Silva de Andrade. I think Nurmagomedov is able to outstrike him. I think it will be competitive, though, on the feet. I think Andrade will have his moments. I think it's one of the tougher fights Said could have picked so far into his career. I mean, I would consider plus 175 for Andrade, and plus that, I would consider him by knockout, because if he's going to win, that's how he's going to do so. You probably get some pretty good plus money on that side of the card. I'll take Said Nurmagomedov, though. I'm not going to pick against the minus 250 favorite in this one. I think he is able to outstrike Andrade to a decision victory, but I would not be surprised if Andrade does catch him with something and flatlines him I'll take the favorite though inside Nurmagomedov. I think he's able to go to 5-1 in the UFC with a decision victory over Andrade using his boxing, because honestly, Nurmagomedov's faster than Andrade on the feet. He's a lot quicker. It will just be, if Andrade's going to win this one, he's going to have to catch him with short, or he's going to have to catch him with big shots up the middle. And he's going to have to be able to rock Nurmagomedov early and put him in some danger. I don't think he's going to do so. Again, Andrade can always change the fight with one punch, but I think Nurmagomedov will always be in control, and I think we'll get it done by unanimous decision. In our co-main event, we have got Borralho taking on Arman Petrosyan. Both these guys picking up victories in their first UFC fight. For Borralho, 11-1 is the pro record. He comes in the UFC beating both Aaron Jeffrey and Jesse Murray in the Contender Series. Two tough guys to beat on the Contender. He finishes Murray in the first round, his second fight, and he beats Aaron Jeffrey the first time around by unanimous decision. He takes on Gadzi Omar Gadziev in his first fight in the promotion. The Luque Muhammad card. He wins it by unanimous decision in a pretty... Nothing really happened in the fight. It's just Borralho dominating on the ground. He uses ground game to his advantage this one. He out-wrestles Gadzi Omar Gadziev in that one. He's taking out Arman Petrosyan in this one. Petrosyan, has a really good win over Gregory Rodriguez in his last one. He beats RoboCop, beating him by unanimous decision. RoboCop is able to take him down a couple times, but Petrosyan is able to pop back up to his feet. And I think this is where we get a really interesting matchup here, because I think Borralho is going to try to take down Petrosyan. Petrosyan is going to try and outbox him. We'll see what happens, man. It's a clash of styles, because the striking Petrosyan's got, the way he knocked out Kolev to get into the UFC in the Contender Series, the knockout finishes he had before his run in the promotion. It's a good win over Rodriguez. Looking back at it again, it's just a matter of, can he set the takedowns out of Borralho, because I think Borralho will like to go back to that well, because on the feet, I do think Petrosyan does have an advantage. I know Borralho does have some power of his own, but I do like the striking out of Petrosyan, and I do like the grappling out of Borralho, which makes for this stylistic matchup here. Again, both these guys only one fight so far in the UFC to gauge. Obviously, I think strength of schedule would go to Borralho, but let's be honest, Petrosyan has fought some good guys as well. Both these guys have had pretty decent roads and pretty tough roads to get to the UFC, fighting really solid fighters outside of the promotion on the regional scene. I do like Arman Petrosyan, though, in this co-main event. I think, you're going wrestler versus striker in this one. Petrosyan obviously being the striker and Borralho being the grappler in this. I think the striking out of Petrosyan, I think his defensive wrestling is going to be able to win him this fight. Again, like we saw in the RoboCop fight, even when we saw in his fight in the Contender Series, Petrosyan does get taken down. He will get taken down. It's just a matter of, can he get back to his feet? Well, his fight in the Contender, he got back to his feet. In the Gregory Rodriguez fight, he's able to pop back to his feet. I think he'll be able to pop back up to his feet again when he fights Borralho, because I think he will get taken down in this fight. I'll say that. I think Borralho will successfully land a takedown against Arman Petrosyan in this fight, but I think Arman Petrosyan, on the contrary, when he does pop back up to his feet, I think he will finish. I don't know if he'll finish Borralho. I'll say I'll finish Borralho. Yeah, I'll go knockout finish for Arman Petrosyan. I think he will be able to finish Borralho when this fight does get back to the feet. I think the power of Petrosyan's good. I think he will finish Borralho, and I think he'll be able to do it in the second. I'm surprised a lot of people are going with Borralho in this one, man. Borralho, 82% of people are picking him on Tapology. He's a favorite in this one as well. Yeah, I'm going Petrosyan second round finish in this one. Yeah, we'll go with it. Main event time, we have got the Battle of the Rafaels. It's a Rafael dos Anjos coming in at currently plus 165. These odds a little bit old, but still, dos Anjos taking on the favorite here. Almost 2-1 favorite in Rafael Fiziev. So here you go. This is your main event here. I think it's an interesting one. I really think it is, because Fiziev has been pretty good so far in the UFC after losing his first fight where he got spinning back kicked in the face against Magomedov Mustafayev. But he's been good since. He beat Alex White, beat Mark Casey, beat Renato Moicano, beat Bobby Green, and beat Brian Riddell. Now, the Bobby Green one, I will continue to say Bobby Green won that fight. I'll say that every single time I talk about either Bobby Green or Rafael Fiziev. Bobby Green goes in there, he wins the second and third rounds. I'm just saying he does. But still, Fiziev looks good in that fight. And how one judge scored 30-27 for Rafael Fiziev, I don't know. But again, I'm a pretty big Bobby Green fan, but still, biased or not, I think Green wins that one. Anyways, Fiziev looks incredible in the Brian Riddell fight. He looks really good in that fight. Now, it's a close and it's a technical matchup to that knockout, to the point of the knockout in the third round. It's a close fight, it is, but Fiziev does look good. His striking looks on point in that fight. But now you do start to question that fight just a little bit, considering, okay, Brian Riddell got dropped by Jalen Turner in about 20 seconds when they just fought, and then Turner finished him right away. So you do have to consider that a little bit, thinking, okay, how good is that win now from Fiziev, considering the fashion that Jalen Turner just beat him? I don't know. He's taking on Rafael dos Anjos in this one. Now, dos Anjos hasn't been incredibly active as of late. He beats Paul Felder back in November when he's supposed to take on Islam Makhachev. Makhachev can't fight that fight, so he beats Felder by split decision. He's booked against Makhachev, doesn't happen. Booked against Fiziev a couple times. Here we go. He fought Renato Moicano in between. It was supposed to be a co-main event, UFC 272 with Fiziev and Dos Anjos. Fiziev has the Rona, so fight never happens. Moicano steps in instead in the co-main. That goes 5 rounds. Dos Anjos dominates, even though Moicano does like kind of come back in the 5th round just a little bit. I think Dos Anjos still won that 5th round, but you can make the case for a Moicano victory just in the 5th. But Dos Anjos goes in there. He's stunning Moicano on the feet. He's using his wrestling. He's implementing a game plan that is, it's an interesting game plan from Dos Anjos. Again, he's striking. He's throwing a lot of power against Moicano. He's rocking him. Moicano's face is a mess at the end of the fight, but he's also wrestling too, and he's giving Moicano other facets of his game to worry about at the same time. Now, against Rafael Fiziev, Fiziev's a guy who's really tough to take down. I mean, I think he's only been taken down once in the UFC. It is the Brad Riddell takedown, but Riddell only had him down for like 10 seconds. So Riddell goes 1 for 4 when he tries to take him down. Moicano tried once, couldn't do it. Bobby Green tried twice, couldn't do it. Alex White tried 11 times, he couldn't do it. Rafael Fiziev's takedown defense is really good. Will Rafael Dos Anjos be able to take him down? I think he will at some points in this fight. I think Dos Anjos will be able to land at least 1 takedown in this fight. But it's just, Fiziev is good defensively, and I think Fiziev will be able to work back up to his feet, where I think it will make it tough on Dos Anjos to consistently just rely on his grappling to win this fight. So when you look at that, okay, then Dos Anjos is going to have to be able to strike with Fiziev. I think he's able to keep it competitive against Rafael Fiziev, but will he be able to win a pure striking fight on the feet for 25 minutes? No, that's not going to happen, right? So, I mean, again, it's interesting. We'll see if Dos Anjos is able to put on this game plan against Fiziev, and is he able to mix up the wrestling or not? Because again, Fiziev's only been taken down once in the UFC. It's Brad Riddell, and he was able to pop back up to his feet immediately. When you look at RDA's fights previous to the Moicano fight, it's the win over Paul Felder where he's able to dominate. And again, it's like the way he beat Dos Anjos. He's wrestling, or where he beat Moicano, he's wrestling with Felder, he's striking with Felder, and Chris Lee again give the fight to Paul Felder, which I don't understand. But again, it's Dos Anjos dominating. He wins all 5 rounds. You look at his losses previous to that, though. It's the Chiesa fight where he gets taken down. Leon's able to mix up the striking and the grappling. But when you look at those 2 fights compared, or even when he lost to Usman and Covington too, when you look at those 4 losses compared to Fiziev, okay, Fiziev doesn't really pose a threat with the grappling and the wrestling against RDA like Leon to an extent did, but especially to what Chiesa presents, and to an even higher extent what Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman are going to, put on Rafael Dos Anjos, mixing up wrestling with their striking really well. So I don't think, so there's really not a threat of a takedown, and Fiziev isn't going to threaten with the wrestling, and he's not even going to pose like he's going to threaten with the wrestling. So RDA doesn't really have to worry about that. He's just got to worry on his own game plan where, all right, I'm either going to strike or I'm going to mix up my striking, and I'm going to, wrestle as well in there too. So I think it is an interesting fight. If we are going to see a classic RDA performance, we will see some of the wrestling, some of the grappling, but we will see him throwing big power shots in the feet as well. It's just a matter of, can he calm the storm of Rafael Fiziev? Because Fiziev's going to go for it. Fiziev will pick his spots. I mean, how the guy, again, Tiger Muay Thai zone, he knows how to strike. He's got really good Muay Thai, got really good kickboxing. He's going to pick his spots right in this fight. Fiziev knows what he's doing. He's not going to open himself up to a takedown, make it easy for Dos Anjos to keep him on the ground. He's going to pick his shots, and I think it makes for a technical fight. It might not be the most entertaining at some points, but I think later on in this fight, these two will start to turn it on. It's just a matter of, again, can RDA stay competitive on the feet with Fiziev, and can he mix it up, and can he take it down? Because again, if he just strikes with Fiziev for 25 minutes, I think he will lose, or eventually I think Fiziev will be able to finish him. So when it comes to the prediction in this fight, in the main event, I'm going with Rafael Fiziev. I think Fiziev's able to do it. Again, with that, he's a 2-1 favorite. I think he's getting the respect from Vegas in this fight for good reason. I think Rafael Fiziev is able to give Dos Anjos some problems in the feet. Again, Dos Anjos is getting up there in age. He's 37. This is like his last run to the belt. At this point of his career, it is his last run, but I think Fiziev's able to, damage him on the feet. I think RDA, again, will take him down, but I think Fiziev's able to pop back up to his feet at some points in this fight. And I think eventually, Rafael Fiziev will be able to finish RDA. I'm going to go with a 3rd round TKO finish for Rafael Fiziev, similar to what he did in the Riddell fight. Obviously, the Riddell fight was the last round of the fight. This time, again, scheduled for 5 rounds. I don't think we're going to get into the championship rounds. I think Rafael Fiziev eventually is going to catch Dos Anjos with something. I think he will put it on him for the first 2 couple of rounds. Again, I think Dos Anjos will have some success of his own, but in the end, I think it will be the power out of Rafael Fiziev, and I think it will be the technical striking where Fiziev does pick, to pick his spots, where he does decide to pick his spots, and when he does decide to fire, I think that's when he will put down Rafael Dos Anjos, and I think that's when he will win this fight. So I'm going to go with Rafael Fiziev to finish RDA with a 3rd round TKO. Again, Dos Anjos has only been finished twice before on the feet. One came to Eddie Alvarez, and the other, I think, came before the UFC. So he doesn't get finished. The guy's tough to put away, but I think, I think Rafael Fiziev will join the elite list of guys who were able to finish RDA. The other, I think Clay Guida finished him. I think Clay Guida finished him, but I think RDA think he got hurt in that fight back at UFC 117 in Oakland. So, again, I think Fiziev's able to do what a lot of guys aren't able to, and that's finish RDA. I'm going Rafael Fiziev third round TKO to close out the night. So, folks, thank you for watching another UFC preview and predictions here on the channel with our main event being Rafael Fiziev and Rafael dos Anjos. We'll be back next week with another UFC full card predictions video from Long Island, New York. UFC on ABC 3. Oh my goodness, it's starting that card 11 in the morning, but it is going to be in the main event. Yair Rodriguez taking on Toon City Brian Ortega. So be on the lookout for that one coming up next week. Folks, thank you for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to like if you did enjoy the video. Again, folks, thank you for watching, and Mamba forever.